The sound of shattered glass echoed across the sunny street, cutting through the laughter of children playing nearby. A man with rough hands and tired eyes stood frozen, his chest rising fast, dust and smoke swirling around him as three tattooed thugs stormed into the yard. Behind him, two trembling children, twins no older than 10, clutched each other, their designer clothes stained with mud, their tear-filled eyes fixed on their unlikely protector. The man stepped forward slowly, shielding them with his body, and said in a steady, gravelly voice that carried more weight than the threat of any weapon, "Back away now. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the strength of good hearts, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal." Every story here reminds us that even ordinary people can do extraordinary things. The man's name was Rhett Callan, a 38-year-old single father who once had everything: a wife, a home, a small auto repair shop in a quiet town. But after a drunk driver took his wife's life 3 years ago, everything had fallen apart. The bills piled up faster than he could fix cars. His little boy, Jamie, had become quiet and withdrawn, his drawings always showing their family of 2. Surrounded by broken things Rhett could never repair. Rhett worked 12 hours a day to keep food on the table, never complaining, never quitting. He didn't believe in luck anymore. He believed in effort, and the hope that maybe, someday, good might find its way back to him. It was an ordinary day when everything changed. The sun was bright, the hum of engines filled the workshop, and Rhett was underneath a rusted pickup truck, wiping sweat from his forehead when a black limousine pulled up outside. He thought it was a mistake. No one that rich ever came down to the old industrial road where his shop stood. The tinted window rolled down, and a woman in dark sunglasses leaned out. She had the poised, guarded grace of someone used to hiding behind money. Her voice trembled slightly as she asked, "Are you Rhett Callan?" He stood, squinting against the light. "That's me. What can I do for you?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she gestured toward the back seat. The door opened, and 2 small figures stepped out. A boy and a girl, both dressed in perfectly pressed uniforms. They looked out of place, fragile against the smell of oil and metal. "This is Aiden and Ava Mercer," the woman said. "They're my late employer's children. I'm just the guardian for now. I was told you were their mother's choice, her emergency contact." "I don't know why." Rhett froze. He hadn't heard the name Mercer in years. He and Alina Mercer had grown up together. She was the girl from the big mansion on the hill, he the mechanic's son from the other side of the tracks. They'd been inseparable until her family sent her abroad. Years later, she'd married into wealth and disappeared from his life entirely. But her name, even now, made something ache inside him. I didn't even know she was gone," Rhett murmured. The woman nodded somberly. "A car accident 2 weeks ago. The father died before that. It's complicated. Legal disputes, inheritance, custody. But Elena left instructions. If anything ever happened, you were to keep the twins safe." Rhett looked at the children, pale, scared, holding each other tightly. They didn't belong in his oil-stained world. But something inside him knew he couldn't say no. "They can stay," he said quietly. "At least until you figure things out." The next few days were chaos. Rhett's small home smelled like motor grease and coffee, not the place for billionaire heirs. The twins barely spoke, their meals untouched, their nights filled with quiet crying. Rhett wasn't sure how to comfort them. He barely knew how to comfort his own son anymore. But little by little, something began to change. Ava started following him around, curious about his tools. Aiden helped Jamie wash the car tires after school. For the first time in years, the sound of laughter returned to Rhett's home. Uneven, hesitant, but real. He taught them how to make pancakes on Sundays. They taught him that kindness didn't always come from having more. Sometimes, it came from losing enough to understand what really matters. But peace, like all good things, never lasted long. One afternoon while Rhett was at the shop, 3 expensive SUVs rolled up outside. Men in dark suits stepped out, their gold watches flashing under the sun. The leader, a tall, cold-faced man named Thomas Vega, handed Rhett a folded document. "The Mercer twins belong to the Vega Corporation now," he said flatly. "Their inheritance is tied to the company. We've been instructed to retrieve them." Rhett's gut tightened. "You're not taking them anywhere," he said. Vega smiled thinly. "You don't understand. You're a mechanic. We're talking billions in assets, not bedtime stories and pancakes. Don't make this difficult." But Rhett didn't move. His arms crossed, his voice low and calm. These kids just lost everything. You show up here waving papers and threats. Not happening. Vega's eyes darkened. You'll regret this. The next days turned darker. Strange cars began parking across the street at night. Jamie said he saw shadows near the window. Rhett didn't tell the kids, but he knew. Vega wasn't bluffing. That night, Rhett packed a small bag. We're going for a drive, he told the kids softly. He didn't have a plan, just instinct. He drove toward the countryside, far from the city's noise, until they reached a quiet farmhouse once owned by his uncle. It was run down but safe, or so he thought. The next morning, sunlight spilled over the fields. Rhett was fixing a loose fence when he saw a black SUV approaching fast, dust trailing behind it. His heart dropped. He ran inside, shouting, "Stay behind me!" The twins huddled close to Jamie as the car screeched to a stop. Vega and two thugs stepped out, metal glinting in their hands. Rhett felt the old fire rise inside him, the same fire that once made him stand tall when the world tried to break him. "You've got one chance," he said, stepping forward, his shadow falling over the children. "Back away now." Vega laughed. "You think you can protect billionaire heirs with a wrench and a broken heart?" Rhett's jaw tightened. "I'll protect them with everything I've got." The air grew heavy. The kids clung to each other, terrified. Vega's men took another step forward, and then something unexpected happened. From the far road, another car appeared, its tires screeching to a stop. The same guardian woman from before stepped out, followed by two police officers. She'd gone to the authorities after finding out Vega's intent. The officers shouted for the men to drop their weapons. Vega hesitated, then cursed, realizing it was over. The children ran to Rhett, crying into his shirt as he wrapped his arms around them. His hands trembled, but his voice stayed steady. "You're safe now, I promise." Weeks later, the Mercer case made headlines. Vega's company was exposed for corruption and asset theft. The twins' inheritance was secured in trust. But what mattered most was something no court could declare. The children didn't want to leave Rhett. In every sense that counted, he had become their father. When social workers arrived to finalize their guardianship, Ava clung to Rhett's hand and whispered, "Can we stay here? We don't care about the mansion. We just want pancakes." Rhett felt his throat tighten. He looked at Jamie, who smiled for the first time in years. The silence that followed was full of warmth, and something he hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Life didn't become easier overnight, but it became fuller. The twins enrolled at Jamie's school. Rhett's shop, once on the verge of shutting down, started getting business again after locals heard about his courage. A news article titled, "Mechanic Protects Billionaire Orphans from Corporate Crime," spread across the internet, bringing curious visitors from all over. But Rhett didn't care about fame. What mattered to him was the sight of three kids at his breakfast table arguing over syrup and toast. Every Sunday, they would visit the old countryside fence where sunlight fell through the tall grass. Ava said it was their safe place, and Rhett agreed. He sometimes thought of Alina Mercer, how she'd believed in him enough to trust him with her children. Maybe she had seen something in him that he couldn't see in himself. One evening, as the sky turned golden and the world felt still, Rhett sat with the twins and Jamie on the porch. The air was filled with the chirping of crickets and the faint smell of oil and bread. Aiden leaned against him and asked softly, "Do you think Mom knows we're okay?" Rhett swallowed hard, his eyes glistening. "Yeah," he said. "I think she does, and I think she's proud of you, of all of us." Ava smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "Then this is home now." Rhett nodded slowly. "Yeah, this is home." If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Every story reminds us that courage doesn't come from strength, it comes from love. Special request. Comment below what kindness means to you. Your words might inspire someone who needs hope today. Under the clear morning sky, Rhett looked at the three children chasing each other through the yard, their laughter carrying across the wind. He smiled, his scars fading into the sunlight, knowing that sometimes the most beautiful families are the ones you never planned for. And in that peaceful, golden moment, he finally believed that kindness can change everything. THEND.